The lost World War II candle hack that heated entire rooms, no power needed. There's a strange kind of power in forgotten knowledge. It's the kind that doesn't rely on wires, fuel, or, modern convenience. The kind born in the darkest winters of World War II, when people had nothing except courage, scraps, and the will to see the next sunrise. And out of those freezing nights came one of the most overlooked survival tools ever created. Just a small tin, a spiral of cardboard, a bit of wax or fat, and honestly, enough heat to keep a family alive. Most people today have never heard of it, but for soldiers, civilians, and refugees trapped in the icy chaos of the 1940s, this improvised war candle was warmth, light, and life rolled into one. And the best part? It still works just as well today. Welcome back to History Survival Code. Let's uncover the lost World War II candle hack that warmed shelters, saved lives, and still outperforms many modern prepping gadgets. While the world remembers tanks, aircraft, and generals, the winter of World War II was a quieter killer. In England, blackout rules plunged cities into darkness every night. In Eastern Europe, temperatures dropped so violently, entire villages froze before help arrived. And across every front, coal shipments were rationed, fuel trains were targeted, and electricity flickered out without warning. People needed something simple, portable, discreet, a source of heat that didn't give away their position and didn't rely on a fragile supply chain. That's when the war candle was born. It wasn't elegant, but it was brilliant. And it kept more people warm than any official government-issued heater ever made. The genius behind the war candle was its structure. At first glance, it looked like nothing, a can filled with tightly rolled cardboard strips. But the magic happened when melted wax or rendered animal fat seeped through every layer. Once lit, that cardboard didn't burn like a normal wick. It acted like a fuel delivery system, feeding the flame slowly and evenly for hours. The metal can itself became part of the heater. It absorbed heat from the flame and radiated it outward, warming the space far more efficiently than an exposed candle ever could. In some cases, soldiers would bury the bottom of the can in sand or clay to push the heat upward, turning the setup into a crude but honestly pretty effective stove. Tests conducted after the war showed that a 3-inch war candle could burn for an astonishing 12 hours and raise the temperature of a sealed air raid shelter by up to 5 degrees Celsius. Not enough to make you sweat, sure, but enough to keep you alive. And during World War II, that difference was everything. One of the reasons this hack managed to survive the entire conflict was because, it could be built with just about anything. If you had a container, some kind of absorbent material, and a burnable substance, you could make heat. In England, folks would use paraffin wax mixed with a bit of cooking oil. Across the Eastern Front, villagers often relied on tallow or even, believe it or not, butterfat. Over in rural France, families melted down grease from cooking lard and even the last remnants of whale oil from old lanterns. Norwegian fishermen, on the other hand, filled clay bowls with fish oil and floated strips of cloth right on top. Soldiers in forested regions, they used waxed ration paper as reinforcement. There was no correct formula. There was only whatever kept the cold out long enough to survive the night. One wartime medic described keeping wounded soldiers alive in an underground shelter in 1944 using nothing but a dozen tin lamps filled with mutton fat and cotton bandages. The air was thick with the smell of smoke and grease, but those tiny flames, they bought the time they needed. It wasn't glamorous, but it worked, and that's what survival is. Survivalists, preppers, and bushcrafters still recreate this forgotten heater because it's simple, cheap, and powerful. And unlike many modern tools, it never fails due to dead batteries or broken wires. To recreate a war candle, all you really need is a clean tin can, corrugated cardboard, and any kind of wax. Just roll the cardboard tightly, fit it into the can, and pour melted wax until everything is soaked. Once it cools, you've got a burner that produces a wide, slow flame and continuous heat. Place it on bricks, a tile, or a heat-proof surface, and it becomes a miniature heater. Put a clay pot upside down over it, and you capture even more heat. Use aluminum foil under the setup, and it reflects warmth upward. Small upgrades. Same old World War II brilliance. 2 or 3 of these candles can warm a small room during a power outage. They can heat food. They can dry wet gloves or boots. They can make a brutal night manageable. And they do it using scraps. That's the power of forgotten knowledge. The war candle isn't just a nostalgic piece of history. It's a survival blueprint. It proves that you don't need expensive gear or advanced technology to stay warm when things go wrong. You need resourcefulness. You need understanding, and you need the ability to improvise like the people who lived through the hardest winters of the 20th century. Whether it's a winter blackout, a camping trip gone sideways, or just the desire to be a little more self-reliant, this candle heater still delivers. It's small, reliable, and endlessly adaptable. Exactly the kind of tool World War II civilians relied on when the stakes were life and death. And here's the truth. The farther we get from those times, the easier it is to forget how powerful simple knowledge can be. But history has a way of reminding us. Resilience isn't built in factories. It's built in moments of desperation, creativity, and unstoppable human will. If you want more forgotten survival techniques and real stories that still beat modern prepping, make sure you hit subscribe and share this video with someone who loves history as much as you do. History's survival code is here to keep this knowledge alive, one life-saving lesson at a time.